Well, I guessed it was going to be Pete Buttigieg, and then I changed my mind, and I said it was going to be Josh Shapiro. And then I changed my mind again, and I was like, I want it to be Tim Walz because he looks a bit like Dick Cheney, and that will kind of bring balance to the Democratic offering. Well, Kamala Harris, at her first rally since announcing Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz as her running mate at the Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the energy, the positivity, and the pure joy was felt amongst thousands of voters cheering and waving Harris-Walz signs. A complete contrast to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's vision for America.
The kind of coach, because he's the kind of person who makes people feel like they belong and then inspires them to dream big. And that's the kind of vice president he will be. That's the kind of vice president America deserves.
In her first appearance with her new running mate, Kamala Harris sought to define Tim Walz as foremost a teacher and also as a football coach. He was, she said, the kind of teacher and mentor that every child in America dreams of having.
So it was Coach Walz's students who actually helped him decide to run for office. And he served 12 years in Congress, representing a purple district as he reached across the aisle to get things done. He was the highest ranking enlisted man to ever serve in the United States Congress. And the top Democrat on the Veterans Committee. And he was known as one of Capitol Hill's best marksmen, winning a bipartisan sharpshooting contest year after year.
The matchup between these two really impressed me, and I'll be honest, I found it very difficult not to get emotional seeing their chemistry and also the energy, that kind of chemical reaction igniting through the room of supporters with so much positivity. And really this is the difference between what the Democrats have to offer compared to Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, is this sense of optimism and positivity.
In Washington, Tim worked to raise the minimum wage, to protect the freedom of workers to join a union. And he cast one of the critical votes to pass the Affordable Care Act, which of course gave health insurance to tens of millions of Americans. I'm going to tell you, when we win, Tim and I will continue to make the Affordable Care Act even stronger. So Pennsylvania, ours is a fight for the future of the middle class, and it is a fight for freedom.
A total contrast to the negativity and the hate spewed by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Together, their negativity and their anger and their dissatisfaction with America will not win any votes.
They love dealing with low IQ people, and they got them here, I'll tell you. We got them all. She is terrible. She's worse than he. I think she's worse than him.
To see Kamala Harris find somebody in Tim Walz who shares her optimism, who shares her positivity for America, not just now, but what it can become, is a true sight to behold. And it reminds me of Obama's campaign and reminds me of the positive energy that goes with leadership. Donald Trump is not a leader. He is an authoritarian. He wants, as and I quote, his people to stand up to attention when he talks. That is not the kind of language that we would want from a democratic leader of the United States. And so we are faced with two very different visions of America, and today we really received what I think so many Americans are crying out for, a sense of hope and a sense of positivity for the future.
In this moment, we are witnessing a full-on attack against hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. Take reproductive freedom. Now think about this. Donald Trump said he wants to punish women. And as a result of his actions, today in America, 1 out of 3 women live in a state with a Trump abortion ban. 1 out of 3. Some of these bans go back to the 1800s, even before women had a right to vote. Think about that. Well, Tim and I have a message for Trump and others who want to turn back the clock on our fundamental freedoms. We're not going back. We're not going back. He has shown up to stand against these attacks long before he stood on the stage with me. After Roe was overturned, he was the first governor in the country to sign a new law that enshrined reproductive freedom as a fundamental right. And with Tim Walz by my side when I am President of the United States and we win majorities in the United States Congress, we will pass a bill to restore reproductive freedom, and I will proudly sign it into law. Tim Walz has also defended the sacred freedom to vote. As governor, he signed the most significant expansion of voting rights in Minnesota in over 50 years. And with Governor Walz's help, when I am president, we are going to finally pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. A country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law, or a country of chaos, fear, and hate. And here's the beauty of our democracy. We each have the power to answer that question. We each have the power to answer that question. The power is with the people. We love our country. And I believe it is the highest form of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. That is how we preserve the promise of America. Because only in America is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House.
And there's very little I can add to the speeches that were made today, because I really felt that Kamala Harris, as a great public speaker, and Tim Walz as possibly an even greater public speaker, together had this magic, this electricity that really kind of laid out their stall and their vision for America.
Welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
Wow. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy.
And Tim makes a good point when he talks about bringing the joy back. Thank you, Kamala, for bringing the joy back. He clearly is somebody who throughout his life has used his sense of humor, used his positive energy to bring people together, both as a congressman when he was reaching across the aisle, but of course in his hometown as well. And so that is something that I think will really energize the campaign, this idea of this positive spin. And that's something that I believe American people really respond to. And, that's part of the reason why I wanted to live here, this sense of optimism, this sense of positivity, and this can-do attitude.
I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good. My dad served in the Army during the Korean War, and with his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation. The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education. And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had one Democrat since 1892. Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. I'm proud of the work we did there together. I worked across the aisle on veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values. And now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House. Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. When it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. And this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope. When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own health care decisions. And for our children to be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms. By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws. Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe. So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back. So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead. Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day.
He said that when he and Harris talk about freedom, they mean freedom to make your own choice about your body and the freedom for children to go to school and not worry about being shot. And he called on people to settle our political differences not with violence, but with votes. He said, don't believe Donald Trump when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms, and said of a second Trump term, only this time it'll be much, much worse.
My God, you came here tonight to sit at the very top because you love this country and you're not going back. She believes in the opportunity for every single person to join the middle class. She believes in the promise of America. We just got to fight. We just got to fight. Because as soon-to-be President Harris says, when we fight, we win.
And so with this incredible rally, it's a shot in the arm to the Democratic campaign, which already was seeing an enormous amount of momentum with the announcement of Kamala Harris as candidate, and coupled with Tim Walz. I truly believe that they are the pair to unite America and reach out to voters of all stripes, especially the undecided and the independents who recognize that this choice that we make in November is between freedom and fascism, between democracy and dictatorship. And these two are carrying a torch for freedom in a way that I have never seen before.
Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Vice President. God bless America.
I'm Anthony Davis. Catch me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast on Wednesdays, co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.